What's up YouTube? Today we're diving into Phase Plant and I want to talk about the FM and audio rate modulation capabilities in the plugin. So yeah, let's dive in and have a look. So if you don't know about this plugin yet, I've actually done a couple of videos on it and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite plugins due to the fact that, it's so vast. It's got, all the kind of oscillators that you would ever need and you can kind of stack them as you please. There's almost no limitations in terms of the sound design and it sounds really, really good straight out the bat. But there's a couple of key features that are quite different in Phase Plant than a lot of the other synthesizers that I've featured before. And, the most notable, I would say, is the way it kind of handles FM and that kind of stuff. With something like Serum, you've got the limitation of the two main oscillators. Obviously, you've got the sub as well, and you can only kind of FM them to each other, and you're limited to that. One of the greatest things about Phase Plant is you can kind of stack up these different styles of frequency modulation from exponential and linear, as well as phase modulation to get some really, really gnarly sounds. And also each one has a kind of unique characteristic about it. So I'm going to dive in and show you guys, try outline what I'm talking about. So to keep things simple, I'm going to start off with two analog sine waves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the one down by 1 octave. So that's minus 12 semitones. So in something like Serum, I believe, I may not be 100% correct in the way I'm explaining it, but I believe that a lot of the VSTs handle FM, frequency modulation, by actually using phase modulation. And so if we're wanting to get like a more traditional sound that we've kind of heard in other VSTs FM, then we're probably going to want to use this phase modulation instead. That being said, is you've still got these other FM modulators to choose from. So I'm going to go through those and just quickly show you guys how the sort of audio rate or intermodulation works inside Phase Plant. So instead of obviously like in Serum, you've got the sort of warp modes or other plugins, you've got like FM modes and stuff like that. Phase Plant allows you to kind of send any audio signal to almost any parameter within the actual oscillators themselves. So you can, for example, create as many kind of oscillators as you want and, modulate different things within the patch to kind of get all these kind of like moving for varying kind of waveforms and stuff like that. But I'm just going to keep things simple and I quickly want to show you guys the difference between kind of like phase modulation and then linear and exponential frequency modulation. Each one kind of has a particular sound. So how we do that is we click on this little green node that hovers over the output, and that allows us to then route that audio signal to any of the kind of modulation sources that each of these kind of oscillators allows. So let's say, for example, use this phase modulation. So this is going to kind of be closer to something like Serum's FM from B or FM from sub or however you like to set it up. So like I said, the sound of phase modulation in Phase Plant or in, the analog kind of realm is probably closer to, the sound that we know of as FM from a lot of the other plugins and stuff like that. But that being said is, we don't have to go with that. We've got these both linear and exponential types of FM to choose from, and each one has a particular type of sound. So those are either by using this semi over here, you can modulate that, or by using the actual hertz over here. So I'm going to play you guys both of those, what they sound like. So kind of each one has a like particular different sound, I guess you could say. I believe this one is the exponential. This one allows you to go kind of much wider, but it tends to go into the realm of like atonal. So it kind of doesn't sound, you kind of have to tune it to get the best effect. So I find for these quick kind of like gnarly Psytrance sounds, I often end up just using the phase modulation because it's just kind of like set it and forget it. Whereas these ones you kind of have to tune for best effect. But that's just for those kind of like simple FM Psytrance sounds. However, like I said, you can stack them. So you can, for example, go like 50% phase modulation, as well as, you know, some FM as well on top of that. So anyway, you're not limited to, like I said, using, you know, a single oscillator. You can, for example, use, you know, let's say a triangle oscillator, and instead of, you know, we'll modulate the phase with this sine, and we'll modulate the FM with this guy over here. So now that gives us the ability to kind of like tune these independently. Say, for example, you know, 2 octaves down, or, you know, an octave up, or something like that, to kind of really vary the sound. As you can see, you kind of got this live readout of what the waveform is actually doing there. So then here's where it gets really interesting. You can actually kind of inter-modulate these modulators. So you can, for example, set this one to modulate the phase of this one, and you see like you get this instant readout of like this waveform changing. So this is really cool. You can kind of see how it alters the sound as you tweak it. You know, you don't necessarily have to listen if you've got a particular kind of waveform that you're trying to create in mind. This is a very, very kind of intuitive way of crafting these kind of new waveforms from scratch. So yeah, usually with FM, I like to work within octaves. So like -12, -24, 0, +12, +24. Just because, like, as you hear, it kind of gets a little bit crazy and, you know, atonal between those points. So that's another thing to note. It would be pretty cool if there was like an octave switch. Maybe I'm missing something in the plugin, but that would be pretty cool. Cool, so that's already getting pretty crazy. I like the sound of that. So, okay, so for those who are also wondering, what I actually want to do is let's set up another oscillator over here and set this down like -36, like very slow. So amplitude modulation would be applying this little green node to the level control over here. So check what happens now. I should probably actually just group these so we can see, or you know what? Here we go. Here I've set this to amplitude modulate this waveform. So now see what happens when we increase this pitch. It's pretty cool, huh? So that's how you would amplitude modulate, is using this level node over here. So let's listen to what that sounds like. And then for like kind of unique movement, if you're wanting to create that, you can actually, you know, again, intermodulate like these parameters here. Wow, that's crazy sound. Super cool growl, but that could also be like a really nice basis for, you know, like an FM lead, something with like a bandpass filter or something like that. So what I actually want to do, you know, this phase control over here is a nice kind of like morph from, you know, sort of tame FM to like really gnarly sounding FM. So this control over here, it could be cool to, you know, let's say put like a random control on here, and let's modulate this amount using this random. So now, as you can see, what's going to happen is it's going to cycle through these kind of like, this kind of like phase modulation amount that we've set over there. Oh, that's cool. So what I actually want to do is let's create a group for all these modulators, just so we can clean things up a little bit. Let's put all of these guys into this group, and we can actually call this modulators. And then we can minimize this. So a really, really cool thing. Okay, no, we don't want to put the filter there. We want to put it here. So we can just drag that over there. So another really, really cool thing about Phase Plant is the FM in terms of filter modulation. That's also kind of the audio rate modulation, kind of not explaining it correctly, but you have the ability to modulate this filter amount at audio rate. So using one of these little green nodes over here. And, you know, with a really high Q factor, you can really distort the sound in interesting ways. So check this out. So now we've created these three modulators, so we can choose which one we prefer, you know, to modulate this cutoff, choose the amount. You know, if we don't want to go that far, you know, that kind of like metallic, then you don't have to do this. You can kind of create a regular filter on an effect, but I kind of want to show you guys both. And we can also, you know, do regular modulation on top of the kind of like audio rate modulation over here. So we could apply this kind of random to modulate this as well. So yeah, like I said, if you don't want that kind of like crazy metallic texture, you can kind of turn some of these modulators down or off, and just use like a traditional kind of filter to get that kind of like cutting FM lead sound that also sounds really, really good. The traditional method in Phase Plant. But, just adding a little bit of these kind of like modulators and, AM and phase modulation for a little bit of that kind of like texture just adds to the kind of overall effect. But like I said, showing you guys all the different techniques to apply, and then you guys can choose what suits what you want to do the best. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. So I'm going to be posting these presets that I made onto my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. If you want to know what that's all about, check out the link that's going to be somewhere on the screen right now. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.